Hey guys, it's Aaron with the Gracie Jiu Jitsu Rocks podcast, and I'm here with Evandro Nunes, and he's going to introduce himself, and we're going to talk about the 2019 Gracie Immersion Camp here in Orlando, Florida, that we're just finishing up.
Yes.
Evandro, welcome.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Aaron, for having me.
Yes.
So, just briefly, so you guys know, and I don't know how much you know about the Brazilian story, but I just grew up in Brazil, and as some of you guys already know, or you can imagine, it's a very real upbringing, meaning that there was street fights a lot, there was like money, you know, there's a lot of reality happening, right?
Okay.
And then there was a lot of street fights, you understand? And my dad always gave me strong moral values: integrity, honor, respect, courage, everything that is valuable to the sense of integrity. He gave it to me, and he always used to say to me like this: "Hey, if you are doing something wrong, you apologize and you leave. If you're doing something right and someone is fighting you for that, then fight for it." You understand?
Sure.
And the problem though is that every fight I would encounter, I was only fighting for what was right, for what, you know, my soul was taking me to. But I would win 50% of the fights and I would lose 50%. So I was like, the way I used to say is that I was a superhero fighting for what is right, but without the powers.
Without the power.
You understand?
Okay.
So I was working out, but not, you see, so just kind of going that way. And then I started training Vale Tudo back in the days, which is the now known as MMA. And then through that I met Jiu Jitsu, and then Jiu Jitsu just changed everything, more street fights. And then into a point, I was a purple belt, that I realized that I did not need to fight anyone anymore to defend myself. Isn't that interesting? Like the white belt and blue belt and purple belt was very much like proving myself to myself and to others. But then there was a point I said, man, I don't need to fight anyone. I can communicate and I can behave myself, that I can still defend myself, but I don't need to be aggressive towards it.
So what happened? What was the fear? Did the fear go away? So you didn't feel like you had to prove?
That does make sense, yes, because I remember one of my early fights that kind of pushed me into Jiu-Jitsu. I was fighting with a lot of courage, but because I was afraid of not fighting, you understand? So then, you're right, you nailed it. There was a moment that I was not afraid of anyone anymore, because I knew that I had within me what was enough or what was required to win a fight. Even if maybe I would lose a fight, but it doesn't matter, because once you believe in something with your whole heart, guess what you're willing to do it for? You're willing to die for it, you understand? So it was very much like this. I only fight for what is right. And I'm willing to die for what is right. Therefore, I'm willing to die for...
What do you have to lose?
You see what I'm saying? And because that was my attitude, when I was wrong, I was like, my man, it's okay, I apologize, and I would leave. Or when it was not worth fighting for, I would just leave. But when something worth fighting for, I would behave like that. Like my life depends on it. And people can smell it, Aaron. When you see someone fighting for what is right, and when they have their soul behind, there's something there that is indescribable through words that you can like, whoa. So then they would back away, and I would also, you know, I allow that to happen, because most of the time you see that when people are backing away, they still don't have the need to prove themselves, and they keep instigating a fight, and that's why, you know, most fights
They didn't have their why. You had your why. You were fighting. You were there to stand up for a point.
That's what it is.
Right.
And even before Jiu-Jitsu was like that, you understand? And then for you guys, if you guys are listening to this or watching and you don't train Jiu-Jitsu, Jiu-Jitsu gives you the tool. But more important than the tool is the why behind it. Because back in the days, until I was 14, I had no Jiu-Jitsu. And I was fighting for what I believed, you understand? And that enough won me scenarios that was unthoughtable, unimaginable for a human being. You see what I'm saying? Just because you can see in a lion. He doesn't know any Jiu-Jitsu, but he like, there's a why there, you see? Or a little kid that's like, no, or anything that he believes on it, you're like, okay, a duck. There was one time there was a duck behind, and I kind of approached because I like to be in touch with it, and then he looked at me and I felt something. It's weird, and then he kind of did a little noise, and I'm like, okay, he doesn't want to talk to me. It's a feeling. So that's one of the things. So that's why. And then my point is that I stopped fighting the streets because there was no need anymore. Still defending myself and my integrity. And then curiosity came by, and I came to America. I fought a lot of tournaments in America. That's how I immigrated to be this amazing, unbelievable country. And then I met Hiron on the Metamori 6.
Okay.
Created a friendship inside and outside the mat And then 2 months later, a little process of integrating me to the Gracie University start to begin. And here I am now teaching not only the Gracie headquarters, but also GST, which I'm very honored and humbled to have it, deployed into my trust.
How long have you been working with Huron?
5 years. 4
now.
years, yes.
And the GST, I mean, that's for law enforcement and
Yes.
military, first responder type.
Exactly,
Man,
yes.
those guys, it's such a blessing for them to have these
Yes.
techniques, because I see it all the time. They need that.
Yes.
They're up against life or death situations every day. The fear. I mean,
Yes.
And when people, the jiu-jitsu, for me, for you, for everyone, I think it attracts people that don't accept fear in their life. But we're all plagued by it until a certain point. Being able to defend yourself. I think Pedro Valente was talking about this in the Lifestyle Center. Like, being able to defend yourself is almost like a natural right. Unless you can do it, you're in a state of fear.
I agree.
And when you became a purple belt, that is kind of one of those transitions
Yep.
between, man, now I really know what I'm doing.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yes. And then and then you stop living in a state of fear, which it's almost like things open, right? It is beautiful.
That's awesome.
It is beautiful.
So that was awesome. That was a nice deep conversation, and this is like a little sample of what happens whenever this tribe gets together that
Yes.
Henner and Huron have kind of called in,
Yes.
right? Because
Yes.
they've been the callers, right?
Yes.
Sending the message out to the world. They've called this brother, and they've called me, and they've called my son in. My son's in the background here, and guys, these are people that we connect on levels. Like, I've never met you in person. I've
Yes.
seen you on social media, followed you, kind of admired you from afar.
Thank you.
But you're just as real as I expected you to be.
That's good.
And I
like
hope
that.
I'm right there with you, as real as you would expect me to be as a human being, and give you
Yes.
something authentic.
Yes.
And that's what we talked about. And today we kind of broke off into session, and Evandro was sharing a principle that really touched me and kind of inspired me to say, I got to talk to this guy about it.
I see.
He said, there are no belts. Belts are an illusion, right? Like, I'm not a black belt. You're not a blue belt. I'm a human. You're a human. And that, to me, summed up a lot of the message that I get from Huron and Henner on how to behave in the mat, how to respect, how to be kind, how to be patient, how to be gentle.
Yes.
And they all translate to our life, and that's what we've talked about this week.
I love it.
So what has stood out to you as one of your favorite moments?
From the summit?
From the
the immersion camp?
Yeah, the camp.
It's interesting they use the word favorite, and you know what my favorite moment is? It's right here, right now, talking to you.
Beautiful.
In this camera, you understand?
Yes.
And your son. There's no past favoritism. My favorite is not tomorrow, next year, my next belt, my next stripe. That doesn't exist. The favorite moment is the only moment, you understand? So, because
Grateful.
that's what it is. Because it's almost like this. For me to say that the sparring with Hiron was my favorite moment, is to say that this is not my favorite moment, which is unfair with reality. Because the past, the Hiron's sparring, which was beautiful, it's gone. You understand?
It's not now. It's the past. This
It
is the
is.
future.
So this is my favorite moment right now, Aaron.
That is a beautiful sentiment, but it's a beautiful philosophy, and it's the philosophy that Huron was talking about on the mat.
In jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
When you are find yourself inside somebody's
wherever.
guard, people want you past the guard.
Yeah.
And when you pass the guard, you want to mount. And once you mount, you want to finish them. And because of that, it's almost we live in a perpetual state of wanting what is next.
That's it.
And because of that, people cannot accomplish what is next because they cannot even pass my guard because they worry about passing. And what Hiro was suggesting, that once you behave yourself in the guard, on the present of the guard, and you just stay there, and you watch what happens, not only your learning curve is exponentially higher, but also you can be safer and like, oh, this is it's easier than I thought it was, just because you're watching the threats as they happen
You're
and
observing.
not you're observing.
Present.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You can't observe unless you're present.
Yes.
And it's very difficult to be present if you're constantly searching for something else.
Yes.
I'm in the bottom of the mount, underneath the big giant.
Yep.
And find the gratitude in that position.
Yes.
Wow, look at what I'm learning from this giant. That's what I heard from Huron. That's what I hear from you in this conversation. And that's what I don't hear talked about enough you know, in this life. And for me, you know, I very much, you know, I was attracted to jiu-jitsu because of the lifestyle, because of the way knowledge was transferred, because of the fairness, because of the patience, right?
Yes.
And because of the desire, not like I walked into the gym as a 300-pound, you know, 40-year-old man, and nobody targeted me as the white belt to beat. They tried to help me through all of my white belt tendencies to help me become better and proficient so that I can flow better in life.
I see.
You know, what jiu-jitsu has done for me is nothing on the mats compared to what it's done for me right here between you and me.
I love it.
Right? Between me and my son, my wife, and me and my wife.
Yeah,
So,
that's great,
man, this has been such a pleasure.
Arrow.
Thank you, my brother. Man,
Thank you,
wonderful. Guys, Aaron, Evandro from Gracie Jiu Jitsu Rocks. Love you guys. Peace.